Today we're going to be talking about the National Airspace System. The National Airspace System consists of 7 classes of airspace. Class Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and Golf. So, the difference between all these airspaces is controlled, whether they're controlled or uncontrolled. So let's talk about that. Controlled airspace is airspace that provides ATC service. And what that means is you can pick up an IFR flight plan, VFR flight following, or have an emergency and need help. Uncontrolled airspace does not have ATC service available. So let's come over here and draw us a airspace with a surface and space. Okay? And we will start with our Class Alpha airspace. Class Alpha airspace begins at 18,000 MSL and ends at flight level 600. The weather requirements for Class A airspace are you must fly IFR only. So there are no weather minimums. You must be on an IFR flight plan in order to be in Class A airspace. And a rule of thumb for Class A airspace is when you climb higher than 18,000 feet, you must swap your altimeter to 29 or 2 so that everybody's on the same speed. This is where high-speed aircraft are cruising. All of your big jets. Okay? And that's pretty much all there is to it with Class A airspace. So, now let's talk about Class B, or Bravo. Class Bravo, as you've probably heard in your courses, resembles an upside-down wedding cake. It extends from the surface to 10,000 MSL. It has a radius that can extend all the way 30 nautical miles, so 60 nautical miles as a whole. That is the maximum. There are Bravos that are smaller than 30 nautical miles. Okay? So, the airspeed restrictions for Class Bravo is 250 knots. Inside of that Bravo, and 200 if you're below the shelf. Okay? Now, our equipment requirements for Class Bravo, being the fact it's the most strict, is 2-way radios, and you must have a clearance. They must clear you to enter Class Bravo before you're allowed to enter. You must have a Mode C transponder. Mode C transponder so they can track you. The weather minimums for Class Bravo is 3 statute miles, clear of clouds. So pilot requirements. Not just anybody can fly into a Class Bravo. So in order to land a civil aircraft on Class Bravo airport, you must be a private pilot. But a student pilot can land on Class Bravo and fly through it if he has the proper endorsement and ground and flight training. But in the AIM, there is a list of Class Bravo airports that a student pilot is not allowed to land. So make sure you're looking at that, because in a lot of cases, a student pilot can't land in a Class Bravo. So a class Bravo is depicted in blue on the sectional chart. It's in a dark blue or a bold blue, and you'll notice one thing about it is it has a pink ring around it. The outer ring is pink. That's called a Mode C veil. So let's write that down so you can write that down. Okay. So the Mode C veil extends from the surface to 10,000. And what that does is it requires all pilots flying under the shelf of Class Bravo, they must have a Mode C transponder so the tower can track them and they don't vector any traffic into the course of the underflying traffic. Okay? So that is our Class Bravo airspace. Now we can talk about Class Charlie. So Class Charlie is the only other airspace that has the shelves like Bravo. It comes up and it looks like this. Class Charlie extends from the surface to 4,000 AGL. So, surface to 4,000 AGL. And from the surface to 4,000, there's a 5 statute mile radius cylinder. Okay? From 1,200 AGL to 4,000, there is a 10 statute mile radius. So this wider area has a 10 statute mile. So from the ground to 1,200, you have a 5 statute mile radius. And then from 1,200 to 4,000, we have a 10 statute mile radius. Okay? Some of the requirements for Class Charlie airspace is two-way radios and a transponder with automatic altitude reporting. Okay, so Class Charlie is different than Bravo. You do not require a clearance to enter this airspace, but you must have two-way radio communications. So you call them up and say where you're at, and then they'll read back to you, and then you're able to enter Class Charlie, and they will control the traffic for you. Okay? Now the weather minimums for Class Charlie are 3 statute miles, 1,000 foot above, 500 feet below, and 2,000 horizontally. And one thing I'm going to tell you is when I was studying the cloud clearances and airspace, one easy way to remember your cloud clearances is the first letter, numbers, 3152. So you just remember 3152 or 3152, which is how I remembered it. 3 statute miles, 1,000 foot above, 500 foot below, 2,000 horizontal. Okay, now airspeed restrictions for Class Charlie is 200 knots. Okay, and our pilot requirements is you only have to be a student pilot to enter Class Charlie airspace. All right, so now we're aware of Class Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Now, as we all fly in Eastman, let's learn Class Delta. Class Delta looks like a cylinder from the air. It extends from the surface to 2,500 AGL. So, and the radius for Class Delta is 4 nautical miles. So, surface to 2,500 and 4 nautical miles. Equipment requirements for Class Delta is two-way radios. Two-way radios are the only equipment required to enter Class Delta. You call the tower, tell them where you're at, and they'll help control the traffic. You don't have to have a clearance or anything like that. You can enter Class Delta. The airspeed restrictions for Class Delta is 200 knots, as in anywhere 2,500 foot below the ground is 200 knots. Our weather requirements, as we learned right here, is 3,152. So 3 statute miles, 1,000 foot above, 500 foot below, and 2 statute miles, or 2,000 foot horizontally. And that is our dimensions, our pilot requirements, which were student pilot. Only have to be a student pilot to enter Class Delta, as we all were flying in Eastman. 200 knots is our airspeed, and 352 is our weather. So, a Class Delta, when the tower closes, it reverts to a Class Echo, which is our next airspace we can learn about. Okay? Class Echo. Class Echo is like Class Golf, which we haven't learned about yet, but it is controlled airspace, but it's the most lenient of all. So, Class Echo can start from the ground and go all the way to 18,000 feet, or 17,999, up to but not including 18,000. So, our weather requirements below 10,000 feet are 3,152. Okay? But our weather requirements above 10,000 feet are 5,111. 5 statute miles visibility, 1,000 foot above, 1,000 foot below, and 1 statute mile horizontally. They're a little higher above 10,000 because at 10,000 feet, our airspeed restrictions change. Below 10,000, our airspeed is 250 knots. But above 10,000, our airspeed limitations are Mach 1. And then above 60,000, it is nothing. As fast as you want to go, if you can get to 60,000. Okay? That is our weather requirements. There are no specific aircraft requirements. You must be a student pilot. That's your only equipment requirements there. Class Echo is controlled, but it's like golf. So let's learn about golf here. Class Golf will help you understand Class Echo. So Class Golf is uncontrolled airspace below the Echo and can go all the way up to 14,500. So let's learn our weather minimums for Class Golf. So Class Golf below 1,200 feet, and day is 1 statute mile clear of clouds, which is pretty lenient. Okay? And night is 3,152, as we learned up here. 3 statute miles, 1,000 foot above, 500 feet below, 2,000 horizontal. Okay? And let's say we are above 1,200, but less than 10,000. Our weather minimums will then change again. Let me fix that. Okay? Our day weather minimum above 12,000 but below 10,000 is 1,152. 1 statute mile visibility, 1,000 foot above, 500 foot below, 2,000 horizontal. Okay? And our night is 3,152. Okay? And last but not least, as golf is everywhere, 1,200, above 1,200 and above 10,000, then we revert to our Echo rule weather. 5 statute miles, 1,000 foot above, 1,000 foot below, and 1 statute mile horizontally. So, there are our weather restrictions for Class Golf. So, as we can learn, Class Echo, if you look at an uncontrolled field, if it's just the field and nothing around it, Class Echo starts at 1,200 feet. Okay? But if you have a shaded magenta around that uncontrolled field, then Class Echo starts at 700 feet. Okay? And then under 700 and 1,200 is Class Golf. But if you have a field with a dot around it, that means Class Echo goes all the way to the ground, and golf is not present. Okay? So, golf can also go all the way to 14,500 feet. And that is when airspace controllers are not able to watch that sector. That means the airspace is uncontrolled, so therefore it is Class Golf. Okay? So now, we have Class Bravo. It's presented in blue. Charlie, I don't think I told you, but it is a magenta, bold magenta circle. Delta is a blue circle around the airport, dashed. And then a Class Echo, like this is a dashed magenta line. Okay, so there's our airports and airspace. Let's see what happens above Class Alpha. Then it returns to a Class Echo all the way to space. All the way to space. So now that we've discovered our airport and airspaces, let's talk about the special use airspaces. Okay? Special use airspace is depicted on our sectional charts. Some of them aren't, but they're there to help you stay protected from keeping your private pilot license and also staying safe. So, the first special use airspace that we will talk about is the prohibited areas. Now, a prohibited area is depicted on the sectional chart to note things like the White House and things that you are prohibited to fly over. You cannot fly through this prohibited area. You will most likely positively have a jet fly upon you really fast. It's just made to protect places like this. Our next special use airspace is a restricted area. Now, a restricted area is used mostly by the military for like aerial gunnery and like they're practicing their dog fighting and stuff like that. You can actually enter restricted airspace if you receive prior permission to do so. So if you call the controlling agency and ask them and tell them you're coming through, they'll most likely let you come through or not. But if you go through it, you've definitely broke a regulation. The next airspace is our warning areas. Okay? So, a warning area is an area to protect you from activities taking place in that warning area that is dangerous to anybody that's not involved with what's going on. So if you fly through a warning area, which you are allowed to, they go hot or cold, you need to pay attention, and it's best just to divert around it. Okay? Let's talk about something that we've all heard about, is a MOA, which is a military operations area. A MOA is there for military practice and flights, and what it's really is for IFR. You can't get an IFR flight plan and have them vector you through a MOA because they can't positively give you separation from aircraft. A VFR aircraft can fly through a MOA, whether it's hot or cold, which means active or inactive, but you must pay attention and you're responsible for collision avoidance. So if you're on an IFR flight plan, they will divert you around the MOA. Okay? Our next special use airspace is the alert area. An alert area should be around Eastman, but it is a high volume of pilot training. It is to protect pilots coming through that don't have any idea there's a huge flight school there, and it just kind of tells them to watch out for students and high volume of aircrafts. Now, the only one of the special use airspaces that I'm going to talk about that is not depicted on the sectional is this: controlled firing area. So, controlled firing area is just as it sounds. They have missiles, they're shooting missiles, guns. Maybe they're practicing dogfighting and really shooting, but controlled firing area is not depicted on the chart, and you're allowed to fly through it. They have ground-based and aerial-based and radar, and if they see you enter the airspace, the events or whatever they're doing will cease until you get out into a safe distance. But the thing to think about is, what if they miss you and you fly through and they're shooting stuff and you're in a Piper Warrior and get took down by a missile? So it might just be best to avoid the controlled firing areas. Okay, so our next one is a national security area. So a national security area is placed over areas on the ground to protect from aircrafts flying over. It really is a voluntary thing. They put it on the sectional chart and say, please don't fly below 6,000 feet here. I noticed one of them was over like a waterfalls. So maybe they're trying to protect whatever's down there. It is definitely voluntary, but it's probably, if they took the time to put it in the sectional, I wouldn't go through it and take it seriously. So the last one is a temporary flight restriction. And if you've flown long down here at Eastman, you know that they pop up quite often over in Warner Robins when the president comes in. A TFR is used for events. You'll notice them over Athens if they have a football game, or NASCAR races, or big events, especially if the president flies somewhere. They'll throw a TFR up over that. You cannot enter a TFR. If you enter a TFR, you will most certainly have some jets come upon you. Let's just go through these. Cannot enter TFR. National security, you can. Controlled firing area, you can. Alert, you can. NOAA, you can. Warning, you can. Restricted, you can if you talk to the agency. Prohibited, no, you cannot enter that area. So we have talked about all our airspaces: AB, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Golf. We've talked about controlled and uncontrolled airspaces. So these will be very helpful for you when you are flying out in the real world. Thank you.